Greetings. This is Brother Ravana Noon. Back once again. This time, we're on a journey to discuss self-destructive behavioral patterns and how to overcome them on this left-hand path that we love so much. I'm going to list 17 self-destructive behavioral patterns with an assist from the good brother and sister on Loner Wolf. These 17 self-destructive behavioral patterns manifest quite often in many people. And sometimes they're not even aware they have a self-destructive nature. So we need to address this fact. Let us begin. These are some of the symptoms or habits of self-destructive behavior. Self-defeating mindsets. You defeat yourself before you even get started on a task, a goal, or plan that you laid out years ago. Usually this is some form of an unconscious, habitual pattern that occurred or was created in your mind. And thus, this mindset may be of a negative nature. And you look at life, even though you try to look at it in a positive manner, you end up looking at it in a negative manner. And kind of, it's a default programming within your subconscious mind. So the problem is that you end up creating a self-fulfilling prophecy because of that habitual pattern or that mindset that is deep within your subconscious mind. So you'll say things like, I'm going to fail. I just can't see myself succeeding. I don't know why these things keep happening, etc., etc., etc. That's one of the greatest self-destructive behavioral patterns that many people have. Second, failing to take action, meaning not doing a damn thing, being super passive in your life, not being aggressive. Many people are passive aggressive. They think they're aggressive, but in actuality, they're more passive than they are aggressive. The problem with that is that if you're passive, you don't have the initiative to move forward, to take action. So what ends up happening quite often is you have these great ideas. And I know many people who have some fantastic, fabulous ideas, but don't do a damn thing with it. That's a problem. Words without action can be a problem. See, even in your rituals, and this is something that I found not just on the left-hand path, but with magicians, sorcerers, wizards, whatever title you want to grab and hold on to make you feel superior and great at the end of the day. That's all good. But I notice this overall, that we'll do rituals, but won't take physical action. You have to take physical action. It's a 360-degree effect in the physical that corresponds with 360 degrees into the spiritual. So if you're doing rituals, spiritual, astral, then you must have a reflecting action in the physical. This is why many people will say, oh, my rituals didn't succeed. My rituals failed. Not necessarily. What happens when you did one ritual and you thought you were hot shit and it didn't manifest, so you gave up, went on to something else, and you keep doing this and you keep jumping around in your life, jumping from one thing to the next. because you don't realize it takes consistency to get results. Some rituals you may have to do 20 times. Others you just do 3 times. But you must be consistent on your work. If you're not, you don't get results. Okay? Very rarely do you just do it one time and it just pops off. And it may, I'm not saying it's not going to happen, because it happens, and it happens quite often, but not on every situation or case. Overeating. Some people just have a nasty habit of eating too much, then complain that they're getting big. Your ass is getting big because you can't put down them Twinkies, them ho-hos, and them double dogs, and them potato chips, and all that other stuff. Instead of eating healthier, eating more veggies and fruits. And if you do eat meat, eat meats that are without preservatives, hormones, and things of that nature. Your ass want to go to McDonald's and get a Happy Meal and eat it before your kids even eat it, because you're just greedy. That overeating habit is a part of your self-destructive behavior. Some then undereat, where they hardly eat anything. And they make justification, it benefits me, it helps me not to eat so much, and then no, that's incorrect too. It's just another part of your destructive behavior. Self-harm, harming yourself. You harm yourself, and I'm talking about not just do things to fail. I'm talking about self-harm. You actually physically cut yourself, or you physically harm your body in ways that some of us can't even imagine. Self-destructive behavior. Self-pity. You pitied yourself. I pity myself. Oh, poor, woe is me. Woe is me. Everything is a pity for yourself. You have a pity party with yourself and anybody you can find that will include themselves in your pity party. That's another self-destructive behavior. Pity parties. Or self-pitying. Wallowing in your misfortunes, and then why didn't this work, and why he left me, why did she leave me. It's possibly because your ass needs to face your self-destructive behavior and patterns that you create, a consistent vicious loop or cycle of behavior in your life that constantly will come into fruition. One of the major ones of self-destructive behaviors, drug and alcohol abuse. Now, I know many people are going to find some way to use some answer to justify their drug or alcohol use. It's fine. I'm not talking about just everybody and anybody who uses drugs and alcohol. I'm talking about the individuals who can't seem to just moderate their usage and go to the extreme and constantly abuse the alcohol and drugs, where they find themselves more addicted to one drug than the next drug, next thing you're there on a super hard drugs, and they just create a misery in their life. And then a person who drinks and drinks and drinks to the point that they black out every day. Black out all the time. And what people don't understand about alcohol, this is one of the reasons they used to call alcohol spirits, is because in actuality, when you are drinking alcohol, your vibrational level shifts within your body and your mind. Spirits that are hovering, they're constantly around us. We just don't see it because many of us have become more physical and closed our spiritual eye. All it takes for them is 3 to 5 seconds to vibrate around you to figure out your vibrational frequencies. And if it matches there, they can jump into your body. Or try to jump in your body. One of the reasons you see a lot of alcoholics or people who are drunk fall down quite often is because the spirit is trying to get you to fall so you can cut your body, cut yourself. And when that happens, it needs that gash, that wound, or that cut. They use that because your blood, your DNA, it uses that to gain entrance to possess your body. But if you're in constantly abusing drugs and alcohol, this is why some people that are alcoholic or drug addicts seem to be there and not there, is because they do get possessed quite often. So drug and alcohol abuse is a self-destructive behavior. Now, I'm not talking about individuals who can use it and have self-discipline and moderation. But even then, listen closely once and for all. People ask me this all the time. Is it okay to drink? Is it okay to use drugs? Listen. Drugs are illegal for the most part. I'm talking about illegal drugs. So don't ask me those questions because you're cornering me into a legal situation. I will have to answer every time. No, the hell no. Don't use illegal drugs. But understand something. If and when you do, which is your prerogative, I still, in my years of experience, feel that it comes a point in your life when you're going to have to put all that external trappings, addictions, assistance away and learn how to do this all within the confines of your mind. It comes a point that you have to do this without the aid of some substance to alter your state of consciousness or anything else. Until then, mess yourself up as much as you want. Have fun. Enjoy yourself if that's what you want to do. Just know that it could be a part of your self-destructive behavior and self-destructive pattern. Okay? Just know that it quite possibly could be just a part of that. Okay? Just realize that. Okay? So, you hide your emotions. You trap your emotions. You bury your emotions. When you fail to acknowledge your emotions, whether they're positive or negative, and can't express it, can't speak it, it can create more mental, emotional, and psychological problems. This is another way of creating more self-destructive behavior. Another one, if people reach out to you and they see these patterns and they've identified it within themselves and done a lot of work to overcome these things, and they try to reach out to you to help you, and you say, I don't care, or you say, I don't care about my life, I don't care about these things, that's a self-destructive behavior. Unnecessary self-sacrifice. This goes for a lot of these so-called extra spooky spiritual individuals who feel they got to be a martyr for everybody, who feel that they have to sacrifice themselves for other people, who feel that they got to go extremely extra nice to be acknowledged as such a great person. That is a part of your self-destructive behavior. Overspending. Knowing you have to pay the power bill, but you end up buying some red bottoms or some Jordans. Now you're screwed because your light bill is about to go off, but you spend it on something because you have a spending habit, chronic spending habit, self-destructive behavior. Physical neglect. You don't sleep too well or hardly sleep at all. You refuse to exercise. You eat unhealthy. Signs of self-destructive behavior. Mental neglect. You refuse or avoid to confront your mental issues, your psychological issues, stress, anxiety, depression, paranoia, OCD, etc. Extreme cases of these I'm talking about. Delays your healing process and keeps perpetuating self-destructive behavior. And finally, this one hits to a lot of individuals I personally know. Sabotaging your own relationships. Jealousy, possessiveness, emotional manipulation, neediness, violence, and so forth are all examples of sabotaging your relationships before they even have a chance to take hold or can prove to be fruitful in your life. You rather destroy the relationship than take a chance because you feel unworthy of love. You feel unworthy of much of anything. So instead of giving it a chance, you rather destroy it. I know quite a few people who do this quite often. Sabotage their own relationships. It's sad, but true. They sabotage their own relationships. Now, how on the left-hand path do we confront this self-destructive behavior? How do we overcome it? How do we overcome it? First of all, the left-hand path is not a path of scary, weak-minded individuals who want sympathy and over self-pitying and all this stuff. Most of the work we do on the left-hand path is utilizing archetypes that represent aggressiveness, destructive, chaotic, energy, forces. This is what we use in much of our ritual work on the left-hand path. There's a great reason for it that many cannot understand. Some are so scared of some of these archetypes that we utilize on the left-hand path. They go running for the hills. They go hide. They do everything to avoid facing themselves. For example, I know I've been utilizing Seth, Seth a lot lately. Well, one of the reasons why is because when I first got into the left-hand path years ago, Seth is actually the first workings I ever did on the left-hand path. Then came Kali. This is why those two, and then Sekhmet. Those two, and then three, are very much a part of my work on the left-hand path. But Seth was first. See, chaos is necessary, especially for those who have a self-destructive behavior. What you need sometimes is for your life to get flipped upside down, for you to face all your weaknesses, your fears, your pains, your traumas, and your wounds head on, face on. Not to baby them. Oh, I'm in such pain from my wound in the past and what happened to me. That's fine. That's fine. That's okay. In the left-hand path, we don't baby a lot of that stuff. We want to face it head on and take our power back and stop feeding these monsters that we created within our subconscious and unconscious minds because of those wounds and trauma and pain. We want to confront first. Let me say the first step to do is to confront, meaning identify what the issue, the problem, the trauma, the pain, the wound, the behavioral issues, etc., etc., etc. Identify it. Once you identify it, the work doesn't stop there. Do not say, oh, I got it. I did some work. I did some work. I did it now. No, you didn't. You just identified it. That's it. The second step is once you identify it, you confront it. This is where putting on the deific mask of Set, of Kali, of Hecate, of even Shango, let's say, or Ogun, or Ochosi, or Thor. Putting on this deific mask is very beneficial to confront. You identify, now you must confront. 2, you must confront. Okay? Meaning, okay, I identify this now. Now I must approach this. I must approach this fear I have. I must approach this pain that has festered since my childhood. Identified when it began, and now I confront. So what I do, and many others that walk this path, we use, let's say, a Kali, who's the goddess of chaos and destruction. And I face my issue that I just identified, now confront it as Kali. I put on the deific mask as Kali, meaning I embody the vibration, frequency, consciousness of Kali, and I go head up with my own self-created monsters, demons, that have manifested since that trauma began. And I begin the process of destroying it. Destroying it using the knife or the sword, the curved sword of Kali or Set. And I chop the head off of that very monster that has festered in my life because of my pain, trauma, wound, issue, whatever. I now confront it with that sword and I chop the head off. Thus, taking the power away of what has been affecting me and holding me down. But if it's super strong, you might not be able to just destroy it and chop its head off. It might grow its head right back because you fed that much power to it. So now I become like Set, and I become the great black serpent, Set, or Seti Timu, Set Timui, or Seti Timui. I become the great black serpent that devours the very soul, the very life force, the very energy I have given to my pains, my traumas, and my wounds, and I devour it. That means I just eat it up, digest it, and eliminate it for good out of my life. I devour it by invoking and embodying Set, Sutech, Sitech, Seth. I invoke and embody that, or Kali. I devour that, or Sekhmet. I use that power of devouring, the vampiric magic, the vampiric force, to devour those things that have held me down, that have controlled me, that have created behavioral patterns and issues I now take back that power by destroying or devouring it. I don't baby it or give life to it to continue to manifest and have a hold over my life. I don't kiss it. I don't say, oh, baby, it's okay. I understand why you do this or have done this. No, I don't do that. I don't do that at all. I confront it. Then I destroy it or devour it. That is how the ritual would go. You use a ritual sense, a ritual play that you have created and now are enacting wearing a deific mask. And if you actually have a deific mask of one of these archetypes, even better. To destroy or devour that which has been affecting you since childhood. This is important. More important than you can imagine. People come to me sometimes want to do hot shit. They want to do some dope work and dope all this. You know what I always would tell them? For most cases, work on your own issues. Work on your shadow self before you get into all this deep sorcery or magic. Before you get into all this complex stuff, work on yourself. Your shadow self, period. It's that simple. Stop complicating things. Stop adding more to it than needs to be there. Simplify it. Just identify and confront, then destroy or devour. Those 3 steps. Identify, confront, and then destroy or devour. Your choice. But it can be done. It can be done. Because I, myself, and others, many others, have done it. I've seen or heard the results from many and seen it within my own life. You have to understand, one of the keys of knowing if your magic or sorcery works is results. But on the left-hand path, the results we're talking about are not mundane results. Worldly results. They're not always worldly results. They're not always financial results. They're not always all these little extra external trimmings that we love so much. It's not always that. Many cases on the left-hand path, you're going to get the result you need, not so much that you want. And that pisses people off, hurts them, or bothers them. And this is why they leave the left-hand path. Because when they do certain rituals, they want to see points of light and glory. They want to see all these amazing archetypes, divinities, or deities. And they don't see none of that. They see their own darkness staring back at them because they refuse to give consciousness to it. You can't grow like that. You gotta give consciousness to your darkness, your shadow. You have to go in there. Then you'll really understand the light that so many people clamor about. These light workers, these fluffy people. Then you'll understand what they don't even understand about the light. The light is simply your intellect. It's your intellect. That's what it's all about. That intellect that shines within the darkness. Or your neurons firing within the darkness. And when you take the inward journey, you're actually able to see your neurons fire off within the brain. Electrical impulses going off within that darkness. You actually can see it when you've done the work. The work is consciousness. But see, here's the problem. Let me tell you. This what the problem is. We have so many damn definitions of consciousness. We have so many definitions of consciousness. And it's hard to determine which one's right. But I'll give you one of the best ones that I found by Robert Monroe. For people who are not aware of Robert Monroe, and this is something I study quite often, more for my personal work. I don't really discuss it much in videos or classes, things like that. I do this more for my personal work. But if people ask, we can go there. Robert Monroe started what is known as the Monroe Institute. Monroe Institute is known for hemisync. For any of y'all who've ever listened to spiritual, meditative, guided or self-guided meditations from hemisync, understand what I'm talking about. Robert Monroe was the pioneer for hemisync, brainwave manipulation and entertainment to help humans explore the borders or edges of consciousness as we know it and beyond. He was one of the first to really get deeply into that. And there's a lot of information from the Monroe Institute when it comes to this, okay? What Robert Monroe said is this: we are expressions of energy. As we know, the universe consists of dark energy, which is the abundant, dark matter, and only about 4% light. Okay? We are expressions of energy. Energy is everything. Albert Einstein even said and came to the same conclusion through his scientific studies and experiments. Consciousness, but Robert Monroe went on to say consciousness is focused energy. It's taking that energy and bringing focus to it. Okay? It's taking that focus and taking that energy, bringing focus to it. Energy focus is exponential. Consciousness is a form of focused energy at work. That is one of the greatest definitions of consciousness that I have found. Why is this important? When you understand all is mental, mental is all. When you understand that principle of Tahuti or Hermes, then you understand that much of our trauma, pains, wounds is at the core a mental issue. Because you understand that, on the left-hand path, you have to learn how to manipulate your own consciousness, subconsciousness, and even bring the unconscious into consciousness. Meaning you bring consciousness into that unconscious part of yourself. And you then will start to learn how to manipulate your mind to identify, confront, destroy, devour your self-destructive patterns, behaviors that stem from wounds, pains, traumas, and issues from years gone by. Consciousness is everything. And expanding that consciousness is the goal. But as Carl Jung said, you do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but rather by making the darkness conscious. You have to go into your shadow self. It is the most necessary part of yourself that you have to work on before you get to this next level of sorcery, magic, and all the great Harry Potters and all the great Lord of the Rings and all the great magicians and all the great The Order and all these great magic shows and movies and all these things that have been coming out years gone by. Most recent. You have to understand that principle. You must make the darkness conscious. You must overcome these self-destructive patterns. You must overcome the issues of your life before you really get to that level. Why do I say that? I say that because people want to jump the gun. They want to go from the root chakra to the crown chakra without ever doing work on the root. Worst thing you could do. I use that as an example. Meaning they want to do all the dope shit, but haven't taken the time to master that part of themselves. They want to be super spiritual. They want to be super spiritual with a cape on. Alright, they want to fly around with a big S on their chest. But their inner world is straight, just straight chaotic. Not chaos with order. Just straight chaotic with no order, no direction, just straight destructive. Self-destructive. That's a problem. Stop trying to be super magical, super sorceress, super spiritual without dealing with your shadow issues. If you don't deal with that part of yourself forevermore, you will be ruled by self-destructive behavior. I'm not saying this. There's plenty of clinical studies that prove this. But keep living your life and you will prove it to yourself that you're going to consistently live a self-destructive pattern in your life. So you have to bring consciousness into that darkness. You have to bring that consciousness into the darkness and go to the borders and boundaries and limitations of darkness that we yet to understand because we're so inundated with this light crap. Oh, trust, I know and understand light. I walked the light path for many years of my life, from yoga to Buddhism, meditations, pranayama, all these things more from the light side perspective. I was initiated in various of those paths, things of that nature. Got it. I understand it from the inside out. But on my own, I discovered the left-hand path. And I said, this is the path for me. This is the path of self-mastery. Individuated consciousness, that I consciousness that is necessary to go within self to master the bullshit. Not to wait for some God, Allah, Yahweh, Jehovah, some goddesses to help, to assist. I pray to thee, please, kumbaya, yada, yada, yada. Oh my, please help me. When you could be doing the work to help yourself. You could be doing the work to help yourself. But you want to keep playing. You want to keep playing. You don't want to confront yourself because you're afraid or scared of your very self. There's plenty like that. Plenty of people do that. So you're not alone, but you can do something about it. That's the point. You can do something about it. Don't skip this step. It is very important. People want to go and astral travel and everything else. But then they get into the astral realm and you have different energies, frequencies, vibrations, entities, all things existing within the astral realm that feed off of your very fears, your issues, your traumas and wounds, and they enslave you, possess you, and control you forevermore. And then they get stuck. Physically, they're here. Mentally, they're gone. You know people like that. Many of y'all have met people like that. Many of you all know people like that. Many of you all know this. And you know firsthand who I'm talking about in your personal life. deal with your self-destructive behavior. If not, it will consume you and it will devour you if you don't devour it first. Be the master over self. I gave you examples. You could create your own ritual from identifying, confronting, and destroying or devouring. Those 3 steps, you could create your own rituals for that. I have many. And I know how to use them all. Trust, I know how to use them all and have been using them for years. And what happens? Let me finish this video with this statement. What happens when you do this work? Because a lot of people ask that too. Okay, then what? I finish this, I do it, I destroy it, and I devour it, and I overcome this. What happens next? You know what happens? The obstacles and blockages that have been blocking abundance, prosperity, wealth, great health, all these things naturally start to flow in your body. So I don't have to focus on doing money rituals all the time. I don't have to focus on doing love rituals, love spells all the time. The blockages, the obstacles just are devoured and destroyed in my life, and the natural flow of abundance and prosperity and wealth just naturally starts coming into my life. I become a magnet to attract those things because nothing's blocking it anymore. That you will see if you do the work. You will see if you do the work. We most likely will not have a class on Sunday. Next week, we will have Trina Hart. She will be on Zoom. For all the sisters out there who want to support your sisters, because so many sisters say not enough sisters on the left-hand path or the occult speak up. Guess what? I have the Cosmic Serpent on Zoom and still don't get a lot of support the way we should for her. But sisters constantly saying this. Trina Hart's going to be there next week. I want to see a lot of support for her too. So please represent and be there for her. She's going to come with that fire. Trina Hart will be there talking about demons in the Temple of Solomon, the building of the Temple of Solomon. That will be next week. The week after that, I'm going to see if I have Griffin Noir, the leader of the Lightning Bay Vampyre community in Tampa, on the show. Then, the week after that, we'll have the Triad of Darkness. The week after that, we're going to try to have Corleone Giovanni. He's still recovering from a surgery, so hopefully send energy so the brother can recover. And when he's ready, he'll be on the show representing. And we'll have new and more exciting things coming your way. To my peoples who still want the necromancy class, we're going to get into it. We're going to get into that part deeply again. However, before we do that, I'm dealing with more of the shadow self, the vampiric current that is important before we get into the necromantic part. Because when you start playing with these spirits and the demons, if you ain't done the work on yourself, you will and can get consumed and devoured by them. It's not a joke. It's not a game. All right? I know people who I was working with a few years ago who no longer do I hear from, and all kinds of things started happening in their life. And I've told individuals before, you sure you're ready for this? Because this is no joke. When you open the door to the spirit realm, the demonic realm, anything and everything can come and affect you if you're not prepared. So we're going to get into it. We're just going to have to confront this part first. The shadow work and the darker aspects of ourselves and the vampiric working before we get there. So just be patient with me, but we're going to get there. All right? If you have any questions, hit me up at darkoccultist99@outlook.com. Don't hit me up if you want to debate and all this bullcrap, because I'm going to just ignore you. At this age, I'm too tired for debates. I don't care. I don't have nothing to prove. I live my life. I get the results. I'm successful. What am I going to argue with you about? Nothing. So keep it moving. If you want to build on some stuff that we can both grow and utilize to grow, hit me up. If you have questions about any topics we've discussed, hit me up. If you want to bring some new stuff to the table or what we could utilize, hit me up. All right? Otherwise than that, dark blessings. Peace is alive. There's only passion. Through passion, I gain strength. Through strength, I gain power. Through power, I gain victory. Through victory, my chains are broken. I'm no longer bound or enslaved by my own issues. I've now mastered them and broken the chains that have bound me and broken away from that. All right.